I see some excellent cosplay out here. He's abandoning me already.
Yeah. Oh, never.
Ooh.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. PopCon 2021 in real life.
Yay!
Fantastic. All right, so I hope you're having a good time. How many people is this your first day at the con? First day? Okay. How many people first time at PopCon ever? Wow. Well, where have you been? You in the helmet. Where have you been? So you picked a good day. You picked a good time. What a pleasure it is to be up here on the dais with this gorgeous lady. Please give a PopCon welcome and a big woo. Please, we want a big woo for Emily Swallow.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
So you come here often?
These days.
Welcome. So let's, by the way I like to do this, at any time, if you just want to raise your hand, I'll try to find you and do this. We don't have to do it at the end. But let's start from the beginning. You
was born.
You were born D.C.
Yes, I was not. I don't have a state. I was born in the nation's capital.
D.C. Just right. That's all it is.
I'm also really impressed that my voice is so echoey. I feel like maybe I'm God's sister or something.
Well, we're going to get to that role that you did a little bit later. Supernatural. So when you think, what role do you really picture? Because the one that I have is one that you guys probably don't share. What do we have? Supernatural. Okay, Supernatural. Okay. What else? That's the one I think of. The Mentalist.
Yeah.
You have to work with Simon Baker.
I got to work with Simon Baker, and that's also when I worked with Pedro Pascal.
Right.
Yeah.
If you didn't see it, it was a great show. I really enjoyed it. And you tricked him.
I did. I out-mentalisted the mentalist, which a lot of the fans didn't like, it turns out.
Is that right?
Yeah, I remember
who do you think you are?
When I first, that was like when I first started using Twitter, when I started on that show. And I didn't know enough about it to know how horrible it could be. And I didn't know enough to know not to take things personally. And I remember, like, there were some people that were really upset because I tricked him and because originally they were sort of flirting with the idea that I might be a love interest for him. And the fans did not want that, understandably, because they were very loyal to Robin Tunney's character.
Right.
But yeah, I remember like that was my first experience with mean Twitter messages, and I was just like, what did I do? I got over it.
So the Mentalist was a great show where a guy was a mentalist. He was a con artist, and he went to the good side and was helping police as kind of a correspondent, I guess, solve crimes. And so he was always ahead of everybody. He was always 5 steps ahead of everybody. And then she tricked him.
Well, for my first couple of episodes, and then I was just one of the other people
That's
who
right.
was every episode. I was like, "There's no way he'll figure this out."
Right.
It's a really weird. You have to kind of like have amnesia for your character every episode to do that over and over and over again.
Right. It's like if you've seen like Columbo. It's always called the Columbo thing. You know, he's always right at the end, but no one believes him. Like, have you seen the last?
Yeah.
You guys were in the last 47 episodes. He's always right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got him though. So, and of course, there was a little show called Manda. How do you pronounce that again?
Mandalanda Ding Dong.
That is the correct pronunciation. So
Melrose Place.
Wow.
Could you imagine if the Armorer was on Melrose Place? That would be a great crossover.
So I always like to start at the beginning because that's what the Sound of Music said. You did high schools when you got into acting. That was it.
Middle school.
Oh, even middle school.
Technically, maybe even elementary school, because I sang in the church choir when I was a kid, and we did like Christmas cantatas and Easter cantatas, and so yeah.
Well, I think a lot of us did that, but you kind of took it to the sky. So middle school you did plays, high school, and then right off Broadway. And a lot of Shakespeare.
But I didn't know that it was what I didn't major in theater in college. I actually thought I was going to go into the Foreign Service.
Is that why you picked Middle Eastern Studies?
Yeah. And then took a sharp right and decided to go get an MFA in acting, naturally. But, you know, I say it wasn't actually a strategy, but on paper it's a good strategy because most parents, upon learning that their child wants to move to New York City to be an actor, would be worried. But because I had already said, I want to move to the Middle East and work in an embassy, they were like, New York, great. No problem. So
Right.
it was a smart move.
You're slightly less likely to be injured in New York City.
Although these days, who knows?
Oh, yeah, right. It's all up in the air. So that was it. And then, do you remember the first break you got doing television, movies? Do you remember?
Oh, I do,
Okay.
because it was on a soap opera called...
Oh, my grandma called that her stories.
Yes.
Much my stories.
There's not many stories on anymore.
No, they're all kind of gone, aren't they?
It was classic because my character appeared in a flashback, and I remember going in for my costume fitting, and everyone was so excited to meet me because, unbeknownst to me, my character had been talked about for a long time because apparently I broke up this marriage between these two main characters named Mallet and Harley because they're on a soap opera. And so this flashback was showing like where Mallet and I were cops together, and we were like undercover, and I was hitting on him, and then his wife showed up and like flung me aside, and apparently that broke up their marriage. And then I came back in the present day because this guy that we had put into jail years ago, I thought was stalking me, and so I'd come back to Mallet to ask him to like give me some protection, and he said, do you want me to be your bodyguard? And to this day, this is the most challenging acting feat I have ever had because I had to say with a straight face, you can guard my body anytime, Mallet. So I've already peaked. Like, that was the biggest acting challenge I will ever have.
Who wrote this? Some middle school kid.
Your grandma would have loved it.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, she would have been eating her popcorn, listening. She would have loved it. You're exactly right. That was your line.
Yeah, that was my line.
So write that down, kids. There's a good pickup line for you. So did you audition for this? Did someone see you in something and say, we want her to be the breaker-upper of a marriage?
No, I just auditioned. I mean, that's how I've gotten pretty much every part I've ever done. People sometimes, they're like, so how did you decide to be part of Star Wars? And I'm like, I didn't decide. I got really, really lucky because I have, hundreds of auditions a year, and this one worked out. And
yeah, most people are like, I'm going to go to Starbucks. I'm going to be in Star Wars. You just wake up in the morning and say that's the way it's going to be. So you are the armorer, of course, on Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's hear it for Mandalorian. Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we have all of our Mandalorian cosplayers in the audience stand up?
Stand up. Yes, do that.
Couple.
Let's see. Okay. That, it's like looking in a mirror right here. Look at this.
Yes!
Fantastic.
You all look fantastic. I like Vacation Mando over there. In his Hawaiian shirt.
He and Grogu are going on a little sabbatical. So you're working in a helmet. That has to be one of the most difficult things ever.
It's a very interesting challenge. It's fun, though. It's fun to try to figure it out. And I had done, my background is in theater, and I had done some mask work in theater, so I was familiar, excuse me, with it. And it was a really fun process to try to figure out amongst, hold on.
Okay.
I'm gonna drink some water.
Go ahead. So of course, because actors are trained to use their face, their eyes, expressions a lot.
Sometimes too much.
Perhaps sometimes
I'm a
too
mugger.
much. Are you a mugger? There it is. Well played. Leonard Nimoy always said the hard thing about acting on camera is that you have to turn everything almost completely off.
Yeah,
it's weird. Way down, not like the theater, and then so it becomes a competition who can show the least facial expressions.
Yeah.
So and now you're in a mask, so you win.
Yeah, but it was such a fun experiment for all of us who were wearing these helmets and this armor to try to find the language. I'm sorry, I don't have COVID.
I don't think we
Isn't
care
that
if you
every
do.
time you cough these days, isn't that?
It's
you're
not good.
like, I'm
No,
not.
just get a tickle. That's all. Just a tickle.
I had a sinus infection, and it's making me cough. Okay. So we were shooting episodes 1 and 3 at the same time, and all of us who were dressed up in this armor were kind of like trying to find the language of this at the same time and to figure out, because it is a different thing when you're wearing a mask in theater. The audience can see you on stage the whole time, they can see your whole body, but when you're on camera, you don't know when they're going to cut away from you. You don't know when it's just your mask. You don't know when it's another. So it was really a lot of trial and error and experimentation, and it was very fun to figure it out.
Was there any conversation about having you just do the voice and not be the? No, never that. Okay, because that I can see people saying we can just hire just to do the voice, and we can bring any stunt person in to do the. But they
no,
didn't.
when I auditioned, they said it was to be a masked character, so I knew that going into it, but it was never just one or the other.
Okay, the techno nerd in me wants to know: do they mic you at the time? Is the mic in your mask? Is that how it works?
They do, yeah.
Okay. So you're doing it in real time.
Yes.
That's the way to do it.
But then it's very easy if we need to, they could change lines so easily because you don't have to match anything.
Just maybe a nod of the mask is all. Show us how the mask's not. Oh, you don't have them on anymore. Sorry, just moving on. So how do you audition with a mask on?
I did not, which was interesting too. They just told me the character would be masked. And I did. That meant that when I was in the audition, I tried not to use my face that much. But I also didn't try not to use my face because it's not like they're not expressing themselves facially underneath their masks. They're human.
Right.
So, but I did try to rely a little bit more on expressing myself with my body. And I am, in real life, a pretty fidgety animated person.
We didn't notice.
So to play somebody with such stillness it just felt right for her, and it feels good, but it's such a change from what I'm used to. But I think that I felt like she is somebody who she's very patient, she's very confident. She doesn't need to show a lot. She's kind of just always watching, and I like that about her. Omniscient. That's not it, but she's very aware. She might be. She might I kind of feel like she is.
You could. That's a player. So, do we have any? Yes, one question right there. Go ahead.
So, how much of her story did they give you with that character? How developed is she?
If you can't hear, great question. How much of the background of the story did you get in the beginning?
Pretty much nothing. They told me very little. Mostly, they gave me ideas to work with. I knew that she was a leader of a group of people that was in hiding. Jon Favreau, when I talked to him about it, he went back to a lot of George Lucas's inspiration from Kurosawa films, and he said that would be a good thing to reference and sort of that formality and simplicity. So that was really helpful. But yeah, I honestly don't know a lot about her, which I kind of love, because I think there's so many possibilities. And I like not knowing definite answers yet. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, go ahead.
Were you able to keep the armor?
No. He asked if I was able to keep the armor.
Yeah.
No.
Is it in your closet at home?
Probably costs more than I'm worth. Not really. But I have a helmet that a fan made me, which is incredible. I have a hammer that a fan made me. I've gotten a few pieces of Beskar that people have made me. So slowly it's coming together. And my dog has an armorer costume that a fan made. Her name is Norma Jean Meatballs. She's on Instagram. She has pictures of her armorer costume.
She has an Instagram account, folks. She does.
It's so much more fun to post for your dog than for yourself.
A really cute one was her interacting with Grogu.
Yes.
That's.
Yes. Oh, wait, did you say, does she have a mic under the helmet?
Yeah.
Oh, no, she doesn't have a helmet. She would not tolerate that.
The first answer was funnier, just so you know.
So, yeah. Especially because I answered immediately. I was like, oh, yeah,
yes,
of course.
Yes, of course.
My dog has a mic. Yeah.
Typical dog person, yes.
Obviously.
Yes.
What did you definitely not take off the set?
I honestly didn't take anything. I was too frightened to. I have never been part of something so secretive and so monitored, and I was convinced a drone would shoot me in the head if I tried to take anything. I also I really respect the work of my fellow artisans, and I didn't want to swipe anything that might be needed. Right. I'm too frightened to do that. Yeah. But if I could have,
what would it have been?
I definitely would have liked to make off with Grogu, except that he's not as much fun when you don't have the the puppeteer there to animate him. I think it would have been cool to have some of those. The weapons that I had in my forge were incredible, even the ones that you don't even get to see up close. The attention to detail was just exquisite. It was enough to make me actually want to take up blacksmithing and try to make something. It's pretty cool.
But
Did I take something off of Supernatural? I did get to take some. I got permission to take some clothes, and that was pretty great.
Yeah.
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 Can we see him?
I got. What if I just pulled them out of my bag?
Well, I carry him with me all the time.
Well, I mean, for those of you who know the show, you know that Amara wore the same thing for all of season 11. I don't have the black dress. And then in season 15, all of a sudden, it's like she discovered fashion. So I have that pink velvet blazer that she wore. I've got these amazing animal print boots that she wore, I think with the pink velvet blazer. And then there was some other stuff I wanted that I couldn't get.
Mm. But you weren't nearly as afraid to steal stuff off of the Supernatural set.
Oh no, I didn't steal it.
I'm just saying you wouldn't be as afraid.
I think I would feel bad.
I get it.
It's such a boring answer.
No, we hear all kinds of interesting stories of people accidentally getting home and finding, oh wow, how did that get right? How did that get in my suitcase?
Oops.
Oops. All right, let me see. We have so many. Yes, sir.
Can you talk a little bit about the secrecy about filming this series?
With social media, isn't it impossible to keep things under wraps these days? I mean, all non-disclosure agreements aside, how do you do
not
that?
when you know next to nothing about what you're doing.
So they compartmentalize it like that?
Well, so when I went in for it, I knew it was something to do with Star Wars. But even that, they were very vague about. And then because there had never been a live-action Star Wars series before, I was like, this could go either way. It could be great. It could be horrible. I don't know. I knew that there were incredible people involved, and I thought that what we were making was phenomenal. But I also, I tend to be very cautiously optimistic / cynical. So I shot all of my stuff before the show was ever announced. Which was really helpful because, of course it's Star Wars, it's a big deal, but I didn't know what an enormous deal it would become. So I had already shot all of my work when it was announced, and then I got to see all the hype and I got to see all the build-up. But even then it was sort of, honestly, I was a little befuddled because, I was in 3 episodes. I didn't have a huge amount of screen time, so I was a little confused about why they were even announcing me with the show. I was like, I'm in it, but I'm not that big a part. And then seeing it, I saw what an integral part of the story she was.
Quite a linchpin.
But I'm really glad that I didn't know because it took the pressure off, and I didn't really worry about living up to expectations, and it made it a lot easier just to be free and to try to figure out this puzzle of being this armored mask wearing person. And I didn't have all the hype to worry about, which was great. And then I just got to have fun as I saw the hype build up, and going to the premiere was incredible because we had some mercs in the audience with us. And oh my gosh, we got to watch the first 3 episodes, and that moment in chapter 3 when all the bounty hunters are after him and he's down for the count, and then the Mandalorians all come out to save him. There was just this eruption in the audience, unlike anything I've ever gotten to hear. And it was thrilling.
A great moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So full disclosure, and a lot of you PopCon fans are in full disclosure, I am a Trekker. Don't go starting nothing.
You can be both.
You can. You do tend to lean, like we were talking about, you tend to be either dogs or cats. You tend to be one or the other. But I think, for my opinion, Mandalorian is the best Star Wars to come along in decades. I think it's fantastic.
Wow, thank you.
Does anyone want to disagree with me on that? It's beautiful. It's great, and I love the episodic. You really look forward to seeing what's going to happen next.
Well, and I love that they didn't release it all at once.
Yeah.
It was so fun to have that anticipation each week, which I had too because I knew so little about what was going on. So every episode, I was like, "What's going to happen next?"
So you don't get to see the scripts for the things that you're not doing. The old story is that Woody Allen would do that. He would only give the actors the pages that they were on.
Yeah.
That way that they weren't unaware. Is it similar?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I believe I had the scripts for my episode, the whole episodes I was in, but not anything else.
Okay.
Yeah, so I knew very little about what happened in between.
Would you consider yourself a fan?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's terrific. Yes, you have a question.
So you said that you love Star Wars. You love playing Star Wars. What do you think of the Star Wars animated show
I haven't gotten to see Bad Batch yet,
Okay.
but I hear it's awesome.
It's pretty great.
Yeah.
What do you think of the tying the animated characters into the live action TV shows?
I think that's awesome. I actually, the last convention that I did, I got to meet Katie Sackhoff for the first time.
Mhm.
And we realized, I think she's the only actor who's gotten to go from doing the animated to the live action
Really?
character. Yeah.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd think there would be more, don't you? You'd think that would be. Well, I saw other hands up, and yes, ma'am.
So, when you get the script, what's your thought process when you usually have some time to think about how you're going to act the character? What's your thought process in Mandalorian knowing you're not going to get to see anybody else's faces for entire scenes at a time?
It's not that different because any script that I have, I'm approaching it more from the inside out. Like, I'm not really thinking about what I'm going to look like. I'm thinking about what the character's feeling. I'm thinking about what needs to be communicated, what I want from the other characters. And then I try to express that. It just depends on what means I have to express it. And on this show, it's just a slightly different language, but it's still the same thought process. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I think I first actually found you not through The Mandalorian or Supernatural, but actually through Castlevania.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, what was well, how did you get that? I mean, like it's throughout the multitude of different timelines for Gage, and I think that saying about Dracula's wife and everything was never really gone very far into detail. It's just more like, oh, she was the reason.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Well, I didn't come up with the character. They wrote that for me. And that also was just another, I do a ton of voiceover auditions, both for commercials and for TV shows and movies and all that. And this was just another audition that came up like any other that I didn't know much about at first. And then I got it. And so I knew of the Castlevania game, but I didn't really know a lot of detail. And I remember with that one, it's so interesting when you're doing voiceover because you don't know. A lot of the time, you're voicing the character before you know what the character looks like, and it's usually a treat when you get to see what the character looks like. Sometimes you're like, wait, what? But I remember with that one, I went in to record, and they showed me an animation sequence for something that they just started, and it just took my breath away because it's so beautiful. And I love that they decided to go a little bit more into her story. I think that it added a lot of emotional depth to it, and it was just a joy to work with Graham too.
You also wonder if they listen to your performance and then subtly alter the
Yeah.
sketches. If one plays and feeds off the other.
I think so. I hope so.
Yeah, I would think. How could they not? There were other. Yes, right here in the front third row.
I didn't love it. I mean, what I thought. Well, I mean, there's so many things. First of all, I felt so bad for Amara because and I thought it was sort of brilliant that the writers did this, that she had gone from basically wanting to destroy all humanity to then I think really investing in humanity and caring about them and wanting to give them a chance. And I thought it was sort of heartbreaking that she had decided to have that hope and then she just got betrayed by Dean. And I thought it would have been, there were so many things like with Chuck and Amara that I thought if they had taken a comic turn could have been brilliant. Like when we were first doing season 11 and I found out that Chuck was indeed God and I thought that, Rob Benedict is a hilarious actor. I was hoping we would have just some really stupid sibling rivalry, like some, riding in the back seat of the car and punching each other and
Stop touching me! Stop touching me!
Exactly. And it wound up being much more dramatic than that. But I also thought if they were going to merge, I thought it should have been when he walked out of the room, he was half Chuck and half Amara. And then he would have to be both of them at the same time. But he was just Chuck with weird eyes.
With weird eyes.
Yeah, it was, I was honored to be a part of the 15th season. it meant a lot that they felt like the character was important enough to bring her back. But there are many other ways I would have liked her to go out than that. Yeah.
So you're clearly not team. Well, you'd be Team Moose, I guess, then, wouldn't you, on this?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. There was Team Moose and Team Not Moose. Well, sometime later it was just kind of, we couldn't even say that. Yes.
What was it like getting to work in the volume?
I didn't actually work in the volume because all of my scenes were in my forge, and it was an actual like domed room. There was some special effects that they did with like the flames and stuff, but I saw work in the volume, but I didn't work in there. I'm still waiting on that. It's a pretty incredible technical feat, though. Sorry, you were going to ask something else? Yeah.
All right, let's see. Way in the back, yes. Yes.
So love the Mandalorian, but also didn't you work in How to Get Away with Murder?
I did.
How was that and like working with Viola Davis?
Oh my gosh, she's a dream. My godmother recently, I guess, was watching a rerun of that show, and she texted me and she said, "Did I just see you in your bra and panties on a bed with a bag of money?" Which is what happened on that show. And I had to say yes. Also recently she said, "Well, I just saw you selling meth, but at least you had your clothes on."
I was hoping the next line, yes, that was me in a bra and panties on a bed with money. I was hoping the next line was going to be, "Atta girl."
Yeah. Go get him.
Yeah.
Well, she always says, she's like, I was proud, but I don't know. That was also a very mysterious show because those storylines were so twisty and turny, and so few of the actors, we would sit there in between scenes and we'd be like, "Do you know if you're the bad guy? I don't know. Are you the bad? I don't know." Which is kind of fun. Yeah.
Sure. It kind of forces you to be invested as a fan as well.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see how it turns out. There was some other hands. Yes.
Go back to Mandalorian. Did you look into like any like Black Forge like techniques or anything, or did you just kind of basically like take things and just kind of?
Did you shadow any blacksmiths for?
They brought a blacksmith in for me, which I really appreciated, because I had like watched some blacksmith stuff on YouTube, but I didn't know specifically. You don't know very often in TV and film like what you're doing until the day you get there. So like I knew I was going to be making some stuff, but I didn't know what tools I would have. I didn't know what the material was, and they had a blacksmith who came in to make sure I didn't look like an idiot, which was very appreciated. But then even with that, there was a little bit of tinkering because there's like the accurate way to do it, and then there's the way to do it that looks good on camera. And that also, I remember John said to me early on some of those days when we were shooting those sequences that he said a lot of it was inspired by sequences from Iron Man. And I knew that looked incredible. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be fine. And that is something that's such a relief when you're on camera. Editing is magical, and they can cut away at just the right time and focus on just the right thing and make you look much cooler than you look in person. Because there were plenty of times when I was just like standing there hammering and I'm told like to bring it up like 5 more inches, make it more of an arc, and then my arm would get tired and I would like hit it and it would just bounce because I wasn't holding it the right way. So I'm amazed that it looked as good as it did.
Yeah, but it looked good. It may not have been practical,
right?
But it looked good. All right, yes, in the back.
Going back to Mandalorian Forge, do you have a favorite weapon or tool that they had on the set?
Wow. I mean, I'm definitely, the hammer and tongs came in handy. But there were just so many, I think like the thing that the thing that was the most fun to make or to pretend that I had made was the whistling birds. Because when I actually like had to place those little darts in there, which was really challenging, but really satisfying. And I guess I had some like super tiny tweezers to do that. I don't remember, but there were a lot of really tiny tools that were just so intricate and beautiful, and they just made me happy.
Well, you have this whole collage of things around you that you don't even get to. Was there one that like your eye kept going to, or you're like, I really wish I could use that weird thing? Is there any?
I don't remember one that I never got to use. I think I grabbed all the ones that I wanted to.
Because there was stuff.
Came up
I mean,
with an
it looked like
excuse.
Cracker Barrel. You know,
Yeah.
all around you, stuff everywhere. Let's see more questions. Oh boy, now they're popping up. How about right over here?
Do you have a favorite moment on set, like behind the scenes or anything from any of the shows you filmed?
Oh wow!
From
any
any of them,
show,
your entire
anytime?
career.
Oh my god!
Let's just go back
no,
to
I
elementary
never have
school.
any fun. You don't have a specific show?
Oh, okay. The question was, is there a prank on Supernatural that
So,
sticks
Jensen and Jared are notorious for pranking people. I never got pranked. I like to think it's because I'm so tough, they were scared of me. But Ruth and I decided to prank one day. And it was, it's a rare moment that you have a scene on Supernatural with just two ladies. And we had this whole episode where it was like most of the scenes were just the two of us. Of course, it was ridiculous because, she's in her Rowena, like, beautiful evening gown. I'm in my long black dress, which, though comfortable and versatile, is also not equipped for Canadian winter. And we were shooting in this, like, big old grain silo that was just cold. And, like, the whole crew was they had to wear helmets. They had to wear hard hats because it was hazardous to be in there. But the actors...
You're in a summer dress.
Yeah, we're just, like, running around, waiting for something to fall on our heads. But so we decided, it was a long day and everyone was very cold. And so we decided like we were going to prank everyone. And so there was this sequence where Rowena is like, trying to heal me and like assess whether, how things are going with Amara. And so we decided that one take, like as she was doing this, she would just like, boop, boop, like give me a little squeeze. And everyone would laugh, and then it would break the freezing cold tension. So we start the take, and it starts very normally, and we're saying our lines, and then we get to that, and she does that, and she gives me a little boop boop, and it's just silent. There's nothing.
And that's awkward now.
That's awkward.
You just tried to be funny, and like crickets.
Crickets, and we lock eyes, and very subtly because it's being filmed, we communicate like, oh, let's just keep going. So we keep going, we finish the take, the director says cut, and then we're like, guys, we were trying to lighten the mood a little bit. And what happened is, and I have so many good things to say about the crew of Supernatural, and one of them is that they are very respectful. And they were not accustomed to just having two women in a scene, and certainly not two women trying to be funny. So they assumed that we were just making a choice, and that was like our acting choice for the scene, and that they needed to respect that and just go with it. So that went well.
Oh, that was an interesting choice.
Yeah. They were
That's
like,
a
good work,
great
ladies.
Story.
Good work. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Okay. So many. All right. The T-shirt. I'm sorry. Great T-shirt. Yes.
So being a part of like Star Wars, Supernatural, these pop culture phenomenons, how does your family feel about it? And like your friends, like do they understand these franchises? Do they follow them? Are they like diehard fans, or are they just like that Star Wars show, whatever?
Oh, it runs the gamut. Yeah, I mean, one of the most fun things is like friends that I grew up with because I grew up when the first 3 movies were coming out. And so those friends of mine, many of them have kids, and they now watch it with their kids, and they say like my son, my daughter thinks I'm cool because we went to school together, and that's really fun. My parents like knew about Star Wars but weren't huge fans, but my dad owned, I think he had 3 Mandalorian T-shirts, and he bought a cardboard cutout of the Armorer on Amazon. I didn't even know this existed. He just like texted me a picture one day of him sitting at the dinner table next to the Armorer. So he just passed away last month, but he was a very big fan just because I was in it. And it was funny because he was in the hospital a lot, and he would like almost every time he would wear one of his Mandalorian T-shirts. And he would, just wait for somebody to ask him about it.
Oh, you a fan of The Mandalorian?
Yeah. And he was so disappointed if somebody didn't know what it was. He'd be like, you don't know this show? Well, you need to. So that was pretty sweet.
That's cute. That's
And my brother was a huge fan growing up, and so this is like one of the only things I've done that he thinks means anything. And my nephews, which is pretty cool, because this is one of the only things I've done that they can actually watch, so that's nice. So yeah, it runs the gamut, and it keeps me humble, because for all the people who are like, Star Wars is amazing, there's also people who are like, the Manda what?
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
never know.
We ignore them actively. Okay, yes.
Okay, so you talk about how you guys are like all masked up on set and having to do a body language and everything. While you're doing takes or like while you're, cut and everything, do you like the anonymity that no one can see your face? Like you'd never be able to know if someone was giving you a dirty look. Really?
I hope no one's giving me a dirty look. No, in between takes, I wanted to take it off as much as possible because it was so hot. And it does feel isolating. It's sort of a weird thing because, especially in the Armorer's Forge, it was very dimly lit. I'm wearing like tinted sunglasses, basically. I couldn't see very well, and it was a strange thing. It sort of made me feel cut off from people, especially other people who I could see were moving around freely and who you can see their face and everything. And I'm just trying not to trip on things, which also happened a lot. And there were plenty of times in between scenes where like those of us dressed up as Mandalorians would be moving around very cautiously and would just like slam into each other.
The good thing you're wearing hats.
Exactly, yeah.
And a helmet.
Yeah, we had a lot of protection. We needed it because we were clumsy.
We have a concussion protocol on the set. I think in some ways that's kind of a blessing. You look at some of the actors like Michael Dorn who played Klingon for so long. You're in the makeup. You're in the makeup. You're in the makeup.
Yeah.
You at least can take a breath.
Oh, it was so easy.
Put it back on. That's
I
nice.
mean, even compared to, people ask me sometimes if I'm sad that like no one's ever gotten to see my face. I am all too aware of what I look like because I am a woman in Hollywood. And I have to think about my hair and my makeup all the time. I have to go in and spend like 2 hours in the makeup chair. So to get to go in and spend 10 minutes putting on a helmet and not to worry at all about what I look like and to have people love this character without knowing what she looks like is really a blessing. It's nice.
Yeah. Curlers, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Nope.
Right. Do you wear, I assume, like a wig cap or anything?
Yeah, I
Just
have like
kinda-
a little hood, much like my friend Anna here
Oh,
has.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Keeps everything comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay, there some more. There were more hands here. Okay. Okay. Let's just go in order. Black shirt right here. Go ahead.
Okay, what's the sticker on your auto model?
Well, on the back I have the Armorer. Yeah. And this is for Frijoles Locos Surf Shop in Costa Rica.
Are you a surfer?
I am.
You surf?
Yeah. I'm
Dude.
pretty bad at it, but I love it.
Do you mean bad like not good or bad like bad?
I wish I were like bad. No, I didn't start till my 30s, so I mean, I really envy
It's like 3 years now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm only 29, so I've gone backwards.
Okay. And then agree, yes.
I don't
Oh,
have one
man.
favorite. I have favorites for different reasons. I mean, the Armorer for sure is up there. Amara's up there. Amara's like the only villain I've gotten to do, and that's really fun. But one of my favorites was in this play that I did in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was a brand new play that I worked on with Mark Rylance, who is like just one of my heroes. And she was this Norse goddess who, my entrance into this show, the whole play took place on a frozen lake. And there were all these huts, as you have for like ice fishers in the Midwest or in Scandinavia, I guess. And I emerged, I was in this hut that was a sauna. So I emerged from this sauna in like this cloud of steam. And she was this goddess who like was so well-intentioned but made such a mess. And that's fun. It's really fun to play characters who wreak havoc without meaning to. Because, in life I try to be a little more conscientious and I try not to mess things up or hurt people. And it's actually really nice to get permission to do that for a character, but know that you're not actually doing it. It's very liberating.
Nice. Yes.
So obviously at the end of the Mandalorian, you have this badass fight scene where you just wreck the stormtrooper.
Just a little.
How is that choreographing that fight with everybody with all the helmets with the peripheral being kind of limited?
Okay, so what's the process for the stage combat to get
Yeah.
it from rehearsal to screen?
So here's what happened. I got the script for that. I saw that there was a big fight. And I said, Ryan, who's our Emmy award-winning stunt coordinator, I said, what do I have to do? I want to train to do this. And he laughed. Because it was going to be in like 3 weeks. He was like, there's no way you could learn in 3 weeks the skills that you need to make this look good. He said, let's see what you can do, and maybe you can do some of the transitions. So I did train with somebody for a few weeks. It was based in this martial art called Kali. And that was really satisfying to get to do that. And so, you know, there are some transitions that I was a part of, but the bulk of it is a fantastic stunt actress named Lauren Mary Kim. And I'm so glad that she did it because it made me look incredible. But it also meant that, you know, I knew there was this big fight that happened, but it wasn't until I was sitting there watching the episode along with all of you that I knew what it actually looked like.
Right.
So I'm sitting there on the couch with my husband, and both of us are just like, and then at the end of it, he turns to me and he says, I guess I'll go do the dishes. But I just thought it was a beautiful fight, and I loved that her only weapons were the hammer and tongs. She didn't have a lightsaber, she didn't have guns, it was so smart, and I love that you don't expect that from her. It came out of nowhere, and that was just so right for the character and
Right.
so satisfying.
Yeah, in hindsight, it makes the most sense. Those things are extensions of her body. It's perfect.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, yes.
I have a question for my wife. Probably a lot of girls. Is Sam and Dean as hot as she thinks they are?
They're actually really ugly in real life.
Yeah.
It's a
Hideous.
trick of the cameras.
Hmm.
Did you say they're 25 feet tall? Yeah. Yeah, it's really hard working with two guys who are ugly and not at all charming and not at all funny and
Right.
not at all nice. Such a drag. Yeah.
Terrible. So you can go back and report to your wife that you've
Yeah.
done the research. Okay, there you go. It is. Yes.
So now that you know, like, Kali is what it's based in, do you have an interest in learning that maybe you can do more later?
I do, yes. And I have done a little bit of work with it. Yeah. Because I think that would be, it's my dream to like have a part where I have enough time to train and get to do that.
I'm
Yeah.
sad to tell you we are approaching the last 5 minutes here. So, I know. Okay, so any final questions, and then we'll get, oh, yes, go ahead.
Okay, so even though Indiana is apparently a huge hotbed for supernatural activity, how do you like your time here in Indianapolis?
It's been lovely. I just got here last night and I took a walk downtown. It was such nice weather, so I feel really lucky about that. I think I came here once in high school on a church trip, but I don't really remember, and I don't remember anything from it. So I'm considering this to be my first time in Indianapolis. And the people have all just been remarkably nice and warm and welcoming. I love the architecture. I love all the old buildings and the big war memorial, and so it's been good. 2 thumbs up, and I haven't even been here 24 hours yet.
Thank you. Indy's a great city. It's kind of one of those forgotten about big cities in America. Okay, let me see. Way in the very back, yes.
I got an information, I apologize if this has been asked before, but when you're on a new project and you meet the actors for the first time, are you usually professional or do you geek out a little bit?
It depends on who it is. I try not to like totally freak out, but if it's somebody who I really, really respect, I'm going to tell them that. I'm going to tell them that I really love their work, and I'm going to tell them what I like, because I appreciate it when people reference specific things, although I think that my biggest geek out happened, and I never even got to meet him, because I remember when I showed up on The Mandalorian one day, and I was walking to my dressing room, and I saw Giancarlo Esposito's name on one of the doors, and I freaked out. But I never met him, because we never worked together, so maybe that was for the best.
Yes. Okay, a few more. Let's go. Okay, yes.
You could play a different character in any of the various things that you've done, even just like one episode. Who would you enjoy just kind of?
Okay, alternate universe. Who would you like to play?
I want to be Grogu, because everyone loves him. I would get so many toys and so much swag. Yeah. That kid's got it made.
All the eggs you can eat.
Yeah. All the frogs.
All the frogs. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. There's some meme that somebody posted that said it was like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni like plotting out a Star Wars episode, and it was basically like these two kids on Christmas morning like opening toys, and that's kind of how those two are. And but so smart and so kind and so generous. I mean, that's like what has made the biggest impression to me is that they are brilliant and they're so smart and so creative, but they're such gracious people and so interested in everyone else on the team. They're incredibly humble and just like they want to give so much, and I think that it makes everyone around them better. So yes, I answered that about John and Dave, but it goes for both of them. Yeah.
Yeah, they would be right at home at a nerd con like
Definitely.
this.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Oh boy, yes, go ahead. Okay, so the question is from stage acting to voice acting to screen acting. What's the biggest challenge going from one to the other?
There's a few things. One of them is that when you're doing theater, you get a lot of rehearsal time in the room with the other actors. It's a true collaboration of everyone involved. And often in TV, especially if you're just like showing up for like one episode of something, sometimes you get no rehearsal. So you have to kind of do rehearsal on your own. Like I'll rehearse with friends, I'll rehearse with my husband. But I have to I can't just think about it. I have to walk through it before I get there. So that's one challenge that's different. Also, when you're doing a play, you do the whole thing in order. And when you're shooting TV or a movie, you might do the beginning at the end, you might do the end first. So you sort of have to sit back and predict how your character will feel at the end before you've actually experienced the scenes that get you there, which is, I think, a bigger challenge because your body and your mind naturally get that when you're doing a play and it's going chronologically. You get one of the reasons I love conventions is because I miss the audience when I'm doing theater. You get that feedback, you have that shared energy and that shared experience. And when you're shooting something, the crew is not allowed to react because everyone has to be very quiet. And you're also acting this scene and you're trying to ignore a gajillion things going on around you that you need to block out. So that's one of the reasons it's just such a pleasure to get to come and interact with you guys in real life and to find out what the shows mean to you and what resonates with you and what you don't like and to have that experience that only happens once. Even if you do a play many, many times, each performance is happening that night and that night only. And there's something that's really special about that.
It's interesting. It'd be like us watching a movie for the first time out of order. You watch them in chunks, I guess, or seeing a Quentin Tarantino movie, any of them. Or reading a novel like chapter 12, then chapter 7, then chapter 50. I mean, that would be very confusing. And Rodney Dangerfield, when he was making Meatballs, said that he actually said, I need to get out of this because no one's laughing at my jokes. And they're like, no, we pay them not to laugh at your jokes. It's
so hard when you're doing comedy. Yeah.
So speaking of Meatballs, let's hear about the dog, Norma Jean Meatballs.
Norma Jean Meatballs. Yeah.
No, she didn't bring her.
I need to bring her to one of these.
Yes.
Except she is half French Bulldog, half Boston Terrier. She's about to turn 3. As I said, she has her own Instagram. And she does have an armorer costume, which she very patiently wears, but then as soon as we take it off, she wants to eat it. Because it's got fur on it, and so she thinks it's an animal that she should destroy. And she is delightful. I mean, I would say follow her on Instagram before you follow me.
What was the? Did you adopt the dog? Was it a gift, or how did you get Norma Jean?
We knew that we wanted. A friend of mine had told us about this weird. There's all these hybrid dogs now, and a friend of mine had told us about this, and we found a family in near. We were living in New York City at the time. We found a family who had one, and so we went to meet her, and it was just love at first sight. And she she's named Norma Jean because when she was a puppy, she had this little white spot. She's mostly black, and she had this white spot that looked like a beauty mark. So first we called her Marilyn for like 3 hours for Marilyn Monroe, and then we decided she wasn't a Marilyn. We went with Norma Jean. And the Meatballs came about because a friend of ours begged us to name her Mr. Meatballs. And we couldn't go that far. But also, when I was a kid and when my husband was a kid, we both had dogs that had food in their names. So we felt like that was appropriate. So,
right.
so that's how that came
Totally
about.
works. And if people want to follow you or Norma Jean Meatballs, how can they do that?
Norma Jean Meatballs is Norma Jean Meatballs.
Okay.
I am Biggie Swalls. BIGESWALLZ.
That's your rapper name.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm on. I don't really do Twitter much anymore. I'm on there, but I tend to stay away.
Right.
I forget about it. Instagram is more fun and happier, I think.
Please, this is the booth. Ladies and gentlemen, please, the lovely and charming Emily Swallow right here.
Thank you. Thank you guys all for being here, and thank you, Rusty.
Oh, my pleasure.